How come we don't have a Teachers Hall of Fame? When I first started teaching 34 years ago, I met some wonderful teachers who influenced my style of teaching without even knowing that they did that. Today I'm going to honor 16 individuals in what I like to call Miss Marisy's Teachers Hall of Fame. This is Miss Marisy's teaching blog, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for you to meet the 16 teachers that I've selected for this video. If you know any of them and would like to leave a comment about them below, please do so. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure they would also. This is Miss Bevan, and I just want to say thank you, Miss Bevan, for showing me that structure, organization, and time management are three key skills that every new teacher and seasoned teacher should know. Thank you again. This is Mrs. Canarelli. She dedicated over 40 years of her life to teaching. During that time, she had different roles in the teaching field, and she also won many awards, which she truly deserved. But the thing that I most remember about Mrs. Canarelli is her professionalism. She was always such a wonderful teacher to her students. She was an amazing staff developer, and I can't say enough about her. Let's just say that even though she retired a while back, I still do keep in touch with her because this kind of talent comes around only once in a lifetime. Mrs. Canarelli, I am so proud to have been in the same school as you. Thank you for everything that you taught me. This is Mr. Jasinski, aka Mr. C. That's what the students used to call him. And the lesson I learned from Mr. C is that in order for you to be a good teacher, you must love the subject that you teach. Students know when you love the subject that you're teaching, and if they see that you love it, they will also appreciate it, even if it's not their favorite subject. Thanks, Mr. C. That's a lesson I've never forgotten. This is Mrs. Denola. She was one of our 8th grade teachers, and I bet that she doesn't even know that I learned a very valuable lesson from her. And it was that in order to capture the attention of your students, you don't have to yell and scream, especially when you're disagreeing with them or they're disagreeing with you. All you need to do is talk in a soft voice, and that will definitely get their attention. Mrs. Hatchett, I learned such a valuable lesson from you, that children are not just there to learn about the different subjects, but they're also there to learn about the world in which we live in. And this was evident because every year you used to have a cultural luncheon. The students would bring in food from their different countries, and then you would invite the staff over for lunch, and it was just amazing. Sometimes some of the children would perform also. That is something I have never forgotten, and I thank you for that, Mrs. Hatchett. Miss Hutchinson, I just want to say thank you for teaching me that no matter what's going on in the classroom, as a teacher, you must always remain cool, calm, and collected. You're one of the few teachers I met when I first started teaching, and that is something that always stuck in my head. Thanks again, Miss Hutchinson. Mrs. Lamania, I miss having you in school. You were a wonderful science teacher, and way back when I first started, I'll never forget that what I learned from you was, in order to be a good teacher, you must be a strict teacher, yet a fair one. When you're strict with the students and yet treat them fairly, they know that you're doing what's best for them, and they don't forget that. Students recognize when you're true to them and to yourself. This is Mrs. Luongo. When I first started teaching many years ago, Mrs. Luongo was already at the building that I was sent to. I believe that she was already a seasoned teacher. Well, I did learn something very important from her, and that was that you need to be patient when teaching. And I know for some of us, patience is not one of our virtues, and I can speak from experience. Thank you, Mrs. Luongo, for that valuable lesson. And also know that I haven't forgotten your personality. You used to always make me laugh. This is Mrs. Mattia. Mrs. Mattia taught me that if you have a talent that goes beyond academics, you should share it with your students. I'm going to use her as an example here. She is a calligrapher. And what she did was, during her lunchtime and any time that she had free time, she would gather a group of students who were interested in learning how to do calligraphy, and she would teach them how to do that. We didn't have an after-school program at that time in our building, but that didn't stop her from going above and beyond her call of duty to teach these children that. Thank you, Mrs. Mattia. I wish I would have learned calligraphy back then. Miss O'Bricky was one of the best ELA teachers that we've ever had in our building. That stands for English Language Arts. She had a love for reading and writing, and her students knew this. Once again, she proves that in order for you to be a good teacher, you must love the subject that you teach. If it's Friday afternoon and you walked into Mrs. O'Connor's classroom, you would see the boys and girls emptying out their desk, washing down the blackboards, patting down the erasers, and cleaning everything and anything that was in that room. This was a usual ritual in Mrs. O'Connor's classroom. Why? Because she wanted to make sure that come Monday, the boys and girls had a nice clean desk ready to learn, ready to begin the week. And you know what? I miss that. And I also miss her personality. It was very bubbly and she always made me laugh. How can I thank the person that has influenced me the most throughout my teaching career? There are no words to express how happy I am and how thankful I am that I met Mrs. Petrillo when I first started teaching 34 years ago. She was an ESL teacher in my school, and I was also a brand new ESL teacher. She taught me many lessons that helped me survive that first year of teaching, the second year, the third year, and so on, and I am still here. She is the type of person who always is there to help you. She's the type of teacher that worried and cared about her students. I have nothing more than utter respect for her. I'm glad to call her my friend. And besides being a teacher, she was also a vice principal. Once she retired, she did go back to teaching because that is where her love is. Thank you, Mrs. Petrillo. Thank you very much for everything you ever did for me. This is Mr. Russell. He was an upper grade teacher in my building for many years. He's been retired now for quite a while. But the reason why I have him here is because sometimes teachers like him are underappreciated. And I'm here to say, Mr. Russell, I know you made a difference in the lives of your students. You had some very challenging classes, and yet you accepted them and never said anything bad about them. And you know what? Those are the things that your students remember about you. I just want you to know, Mr. Russell, that I still think about you and about the wonderful teacher that you were when you were there teaching. Thank you, Mr. Russell, for everything you did. This is Mr. Skep Agercio, also known as Mr. Skep. The reason why I have him here is because throughout his years of teaching, I could not forget the fact that his philosophy of teaching involved humor. His lessons were always very humorous, and not for nothing, he did get through to his students. I'm sure that up to this day, students still remember lessons by Mr. Skep because of the way that he made them laugh. This teacher came into my building a few years after I had been there. She was an ESL teacher just like me. And of course, since we were teaching the same subject, we became friends. And let me just tell you that she is one of the nicest people I have ever met. She's very honest and real, and her students recognize this in her. She was very concerned with her students and always made sure that they did the best that they could because she wanted to see them succeed. Up to this day, I still think about Miss Stremme and how sweet she was at that time. I'm sure whatever she's doing right now and wherever she is, she's doing the best that she can. This is the last teacher that I have here. Her name is Mrs. Vento. Mrs. Vento was our Spanish world language teacher, and she also had a musical background. Now, Mrs. Vento is as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. She was the type of person that if you saw her walking down the hall, she would have a smile on her face, and she would always have something nice to say to you. She brightened up anybody's day. With that being said, thank you, Mrs. Vento, for teaching me a very important lesson that I'm going to finish this video with, and that is that you must always treat others as you would like to be treated yourself. All the teachers that I've mentioned on here have influenced me one way or another. Whether they know it or not, they actually have. Do you know somebody who has influenced you as a teacher? Feel free to drop a comment down below and let me know about that person. I'm interested in knowing. And while you're at it, please make sure that you click on the subscribe button and also on the bell to be notified whenever I post anything here on YouTube. If you are on Facebook, feel free to click on the like and follow button and also click for notifications. Until next time, everybody, thank you again for joining me in my video vlog and enjoy teaching.